"Excuse me, miss. Are you sad?" The voice came from waist height. Evelyn Clark blinked momentarily, thrown off by the tiny, serious-eyed girl in front of her. She had caramel-colored curls, pink sneakers with light-up soles, and a chocolate bar held like an offering between both hands. "I'm not supposed to talk to strangers," the girl added matter-of-factly, "but you look like you need this." Evelyn stared, speechless. Around them, the spring family celebration buzzed paper streamers, the clatter of folding chairs, laughter from employees introducing kids to their co-workers. Evelyn had only come because HR mandated C-level attendance. She'd stayed at the farthest table nursing a plastic cup of sparkling water and praying no one would notice her. But this child did, and she saw straight through the armor. "Where's your Evelyn?" began, but the girl interrupted, turning and pointing toward a man crouched beside the vending machine. "My dad. Over there. That's Noah." The man stood just then, brushing dust from his slacks. Mid-30s, maybe older. Button-up sleeves rolled to the forearm, beard trimmed but a little out of step with the rest of the crowd, no badge, no tie. He looked toward them and frowned slightly, clearly recognizing that his daughter had walked up to the CTO. He started walking over. The girl smiled at Evelyn. "He says some grown-ups don't cry out loud, but you can still hear them if you're quiet enough." Then she was gone, skipping toward her dad, waving the candy bar like a trophy. Evelyn stood frozen. In her entire professional life, she had won patents, cracked algorithms, led acquisitions worth tens of millions. But nothing had disarmed her like that sentence. Some grown-ups don't cry out loud, but you can still hear them. The man reached her table. "I'm so sorry," he said quickly. "She's usually shy. I think the sugar's making her bold today." Evelyn gave a tight smile. "It's fine. She didn't bother you. She gave me a candy bar and told me I look sad." He winced. "We're working on filters." There was a pause. Noah looked like he wanted to disappear. Evelyn could have waved him off. She could have turned away, gone back to her corner, slipped out unnoticed, like always. But instead she found herself asking, "What's her name?" "Mia," he said. "She's 6, turning 7 this summer. And you are?" "Noah Reeves. I help out with admin services on 17, part-time." Evelyn raised an eyebrow. She rarely paid attention to non-engineering roles. But now she studied him more closely, the way he stood with both feet planted evenly, the faint tiredness behind his eyes, and something else. A quiet stillness, like someone who had seen storms and learned how to stand through them. "I didn't mean to interrupt," he added. "You didn't." Her voice surprised even herself, softer than she'd intended. "She's perceptive." Noah smiled. Too much for her own good sometimes. Another pause. A nearby speaker crackled as the HR director began announcing the raffle draw. Kids cheered. Mia's name was called and she squealed from across the room. Noah gestured toward her. "Duty calls." Evelyn nodded. "Go be the hero." Noah gave a brief smile and walked off, disappearing into the crowd. Evelyn sat back down, fingertips brushing the surface of the unopened candy bar. Almond caramel. Not her favorite, but Mia wouldn't have known that. She stared at the wrapper like it might answer a question she hadn't dared to ask herself in months. That night alone in her apartment, Evelyn did something she hadn't done in over a year. She opened the second drawer of her bedroom dresser. Tucked beneath an old scarf was a small ultrasound photo, grainy black and white with the date stamped in the corner, April 3rd, 2021. She held it without crying. There weren't tears left. Only silence and the kind of ache that lived in bone marrow. For months she had mastered the art of pretending. Showing up, coding late, smiling politely in investor meetings. But that child, that 6-year-old stranger, had pierced through it all with 5 words. "Are you sad?" And the worst part was Evelyn didn't even remember what not being sad felt like. The next morning at the office, she found the candy bar on her desk. Not the same one, a new one, same flavor, same pink wrapper, no note, just there. She stared at it for a full minute before cracking a smile. "All right, kid," she whispered to herself. "You win." She reached into her drawer, pulled out a neon sticky note, and scribbled one word, "Thanks." Then she walked down 2 floors to admin services, found the empty reception desk, and left it beside the jar of pens. Somewhere behind her, unseen, Mia peeked around the corner and beamed. "Dad," she whispered, tugging his sleeve. She smiled this time. Noah looked over and saw the sticky note. The corners of his mouth twitched. "She did? Huh," he murmured. "That's a good start." "Dad," she smiled again. Noah glanced down at Mia's glowing face as they walked toward the parking garage. It was nearly 7:30 p.m., long past dinner, but the kid was beaming like they'd just won the lottery. "She did?" he asked, unlocking the car. Mia nodded furiously. It was a real smile, not the "I'm busy, don't bother me" kind. Her eyes smiled too. Noah chuckled as he opened the door for her. That's the best kind. She even looked at the sticky note before leaving. Noah hesitated for a beat, adjusting the rearview mirror. "That means she saw me right?" Mia asked. Noah turned to her, a little heart in a booster seat, legs, swinging eyes big with hope. "It means," he said gently, "you're helping someone remember what smiling feels like." That night, after Mia fell asleep, drooling slightly into her bunny-shaped pillow, Noah sat alone in the kitchen with a mug of tea and his laptop open. He stared at the screen, but didn't read a single word. His mind kept drifting to Evelyn Clark. Not the public version, not the tech powerhouse with keynote speeches and black blazers and a mind like a steel trap, but the one with the faint shadows under her eyes. The one whose hands trembled ever so slightly when Mia handed her the candy bar. Noah didn't know much about her, not officially, just whispers, rumors in hallways, a brilliant mind, scary in meetings, lost a baby 2 years ago. Husband walked out. No one really talked about it, not because they respected her privacy, but because they were afraid of breaking whatever fragile glass kept her functioning. He understood that glass. He'd lived inside it once. 2 years ago, after his wife died during childbirth complications, Noah had fallen into a kind of slow-motion collapse. He didn't scream. He didn't rage. He just stopped being. He'd show up, feed Mia, change diapers, smile at neighbors. But he felt like a ghost walking through his own life. The pediatric unit at Harborview sent him 3 follow-up requests. He never opened them. He packed up his white coat, folded it once, and never touched it again. He couldn't fix what he'd failed to save, and he didn't know how to explain to a toddler why the person who used to sing to her tummy was suddenly gone forever. So he just listened. He watched how Mia pointed to things when she couldn't name them. He learned the difference between a hungry cry and a lonely one. He learned that being present meant more than having the answers, and that sometimes the only thing you can do for a person in pain is sit quietly beside them until they can feel their own heartbeat again. The next morning, as he dropped Mia off at the school gate, she tugged his sleeve before hopping out. "Can I draw her something?" she asked. "Evelyn," she nodded. "I think she needs more colors." Noah smiled. "All right, you make it. I'll deliver it." Mia leaned in and whispered like it was a conspiracy. Maybe if she keeps smiling, her laugh will come back too. Then she ran off toward the jungle gym curls, bouncing like sunlight. Later that afternoon, Noah tucked the drawing-a-stick figure Evelyn with bright orange hair and a rainbow over her head into a blank envelope. On the back, Mia had written in big, looping letters, "Rain doesn't mean you're broken. It just means flowers are coming." Noah left it on Evelyn's desk during lunch break. No name, no note. Just something soft in a place that had grown hard. He was halfway down the hall when he heard a voice behind him. "Did you leave this?" Noah turned. Evelyn stood in the corridor, envelope in hand, expression unreadable. He started, then stopped. "Mia did. I just played mailman." She looked down at the picture lips, twitching slightly. "Your daughter is relentless," she murmured. "She doesn't give up on people." There was a silence between them, long but not heavy. Evelyn looked at him then, and for a moment Noah saw it again, the storm behind the steel. "You were a doctor, weren't you?" she asked quietly. Noah blinked. "I was. Pediatrics? Yes, I remember your name. Reeves. You were at Harborview." He exhaled slowly. "I was. Why'd you leave?" Noah hesitated. The hallway buzzed with faint office chatter and printer noises. Someone laughed 2 doors down. He looked her in the eye. "My wife didn't make it. Labor complications." Evelyn's face changed not in shock but in recognition, like a mirror had tilted. Noah continued, voice low steady. "After that, I couldn't walk those halls, couldn't carry kids down corridors and smile at parents like everything was fine. So I stopped." Evelyn said nothing, just folded the picture carefully like it was fragile. Then, after a moment, she asked, "What made you come back to a building full of people?" Noah smiled faintly. A 6-year-old girl who decided sad people need snacks and sticky notes. She let out a tiny laugh, almost involuntary. It vanished just as quickly, but it was there. "Thank you," she said softly. "For letting her see me." He nodded. "Thank you for letting her." She turned to leave, paused, then glanced back. "She draws really good rainbows. She practices on the bathroom mirror with lipstick. I don't recommend it." That earned a full, honest laugh. It wasn't loud, but it curled in the air like something waking up after a long sleep. She disappeared around the corner. Noah stood there staring at the spot for a few seconds longer than necessary. That night, Evelyn placed the drawing on her nightstand, next to the ultrasound photo, and for the first time in 728 days, she slept without the help of white noise. "Some people drink coffee to stay awake," Evelyn muttered to herself. "I drink it to feel something." It was 9:41 a.m. The break room on floor 17 was half-lit, silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the gurgle of a sluggish Keurig machine. Evelyn stood alone, holding her mug like it was the last warm thing in a cold world. The mug read, "World's okayest boss." She didn't remember buying it. She didn't remember a lot of things lately. The candy bar, the drawing, the sticky note, they had lingered on her mind like music from a dream. She told herself it was just a blip, just a sweet kid being sweet. But somehow, the softness had echoed louder than the noise of 100 meetings. As the coffee filled her mug, she stared blankly at the vending machine. Then her eyes caught something unexpected. Taped to the inside of the glass, crooked and bright, was another sticky note. Bright orange. Mia's handwriting. "Today looks like a gray crayon day. That's okay. Gray makes purple better." Evelyn blinked. A beat passed. Then she chuckled. A real chest-deep laugh that startled even herself. No one was in the room to hear it, which made it feel safe. She carried her coffee to the window and stood there in silence, watching the rain streak down the glass like a curtain of soft needles. Seattle wept often. But today the sky wasn't sad. It was just tired. Like her. The door opened behind her. Footsteps. Then a familiar voice. She started leaving, those everywhere. Evelyn turned. Noah stood with a paper cup and a sheepish grin. His shirt was damp around the collar. "She thinks color changes everything," he said. "She might be right," Evelyn replied, then gestured at the mug in his hand. "You don't even drink coffee, do you?" He raised an eyebrow. "What gave me away? You never smell like caffeine. Always mint and ink." Noah laughed. "Guilty. I fake it to fit in. My real addiction is herbal tea and crossword puzzles. You're the rebel every HR team fears." There was a pause, warm and easy. Evelyn sat down at the round table near the window. Noah followed suit, careful not to crowd. "She left one in the elevator yesterday," Evelyn said. It said, "Silence is just sound, taking a deep breath." Noah smiled. That's one of her favorites. She came up with it after I yelled at the toaster for no reason. "She's Evelyn," hesitated, then added quietly. "She's something else." Noah nodded, his gaze softening. "She saved me. More times than she knows." Evelyn looked at him and for the first time didn't look away. "What happened to your wife?" She said voice even wasn't your fault. Noah's jaw tightened slightly. "I used to think I could have caught something sooner. A symptom. A hesitation in her breath. Something. And if you had," Evelyn asked gently, "would you have known how to stop it? I was a doctor." "I should have." "You were a husband," she interrupted. "You were there. That matters more than anything." Noah swallowed hard. Then quietly he said, "I didn't save her, but I stayed for Mia. Even when I didn't want to stay for me." That silence again. Not awkward, just dense with meaning. Evelyn leaned back, eyes flicking toward the window. "I used to talk to him," she said almost in a whisper. "The baby. Before he was born. I'd tell him about cloud shapes, about circuits, about how strong he'd be." Noah didn't move, just listened. "I went in for a routine checkup," she continued. "Heartbeat was gone. Just like that. No warning, no explanation." She paused. A breath shivered out of her. "My ex-husband signed the divorce papers 3 days later. Said I'd turned into someone he didn't recognize." Noah's voice was quiet. "Grief changes the shape of a person. It rewires you," she said. "Takes the blueprint and tears it into origami." They sat in stillness for a while. Then Evelyn reached into her bag and pulled something out, a folded piece of paper. She passed it to him. Inside was a child's drawing, the one from earlier, now laminated. "She reminds me that color still exists," Evelyn said, "even when I only see grayscale." "She does that," Noah replied, without even trying. Later that day, Evelyn returned to her desk and found something unusual. A mug. Same size, same shape. But the words had changed. In black marker, handwritten in big, bold letters, "World's okayest human, but actually secretly amazing." A small pink sticker with a heart was stuck beneath the handle. She sat down slowly and smiled. Not the kind you fake for meetings. The kind that breaks quietly through a cracked heart and says, "I'm still here." Across the building, Mia asked her dad, "Did she find the mug?" "She did," Noah said. "Did she like it?" He smiled. "She didn't throw it at me, so that's promising." Mia giggled. "She'll laugh next, then dance, then maybe we can get her to go on the swings." Noah raised an eyebrow. "One miracle at a time, kiddo." But in his heart, he hoped Mia was right, because maybe, just maybe, they weren't fixing Evelyn. Maybe they were just giving her space to heal. "Did you know your daughter draws better rainbows than most grown adults can explain their feelings?" Noah turned toward the voice, blinking at the unexpected visitor in his office doorway. Evelyn leaned against the frame, arms folded, expression unreadable, but her tone held something lighter than he was used to. He smiled faintly. "I'll let her know she's redefining emotional intelligence." Evelyn stepped inside. She wore a dark gray blazer over a navy tee, casual by her standards. No heels today, just clean white sneakers and a strange glimmer in her eyes, like she'd spent the morning remembering what it felt like to breathe. "I came to return something," she said. She handed him a folded paper. It was one of Mia's earlier drawings, the one with Evelyn in the center holding a mug, a rainbow over her head. On the back in purple crayon, Mia had written, "You're not broken. You're becoming." Noah held the paper gently, like it might dissolve. "She gave this to you," he said. "I know," Evelyn replied. "But it's not mine. It's yours. You raise the kind of child who gives away light without asking what it costs." There was a silence after that. One of those silences that says more than words can reach. Evelyn sat across from him, their knees almost touching under the small desk. "Do you think healing is a destination?" she asked suddenly. Noah tilted his head. "I used to." And now, he thought for a moment. "Now I think it's more like a dance. Some days you lead, some days you follow, some days you just sit on the floor and listen to the music." Evelyn smiled. Mia said something similar. She said, "Sadness isn't bad. It's just love sitting down for a rest." "She's 6, Noah said, but she sees with ancient eyes." Evelyn's gaze dropped to her hands. "I couldn't hold him," she whispered. After the heartbeat stopped, I froze, the nurses asked. I said no. I thought, if I didn't touch him, maybe he wasn't real. Noah's voice was barely audible. He was real. Her throat tightened. "I've spent 2 years trying to be strong enough to deserve a child I never got to love." Noah leaned forward, resting his arms on his knees. "You don't earn a child's love by being strong," he said. "You love them first. That's the only qualification." Her eyes shimmered, but she didn't cry. "Do you ever stop missing them?" she asked. "No," he said. "But you stop being afraid of the missing. It becomes familiar, like a shadow that doesn't scare you anymore." Evelyn nodded slowly. "Then Mia told me yesterday. I reminded her of someone." "Oh," she said, "you're like my mom but without the singing voice." Noah smiled wide, surprised, touched. "She must have really meant it," he said. "She doesn't bring her mom up often. She said her mom used to look at her like she was a story waiting to be told." Noah's eyes softened. That's exactly how she looked at her. There was a long pause. And then Evelyn whispered, "She looked at me like that." Noah didn't reply. He just reached out, and for the first time their hands met, not in comfort, not in rescue, but in quiet solidarity. That weekend, Evelyn did something out of character. She accepted an invitation to a small community art fair Mia's school was organizing. No press, no gala dresses, just string lights, painted faces, and construction paper taped to fences. Noah and Mia were already there when she arrived. Mia spotted her instantly and ran over. "You came," she beamed. Evelyn bent down. "Of course, I wanted to see your masterpiece." Mia tugged her hand eagerly and led her to a row of hanging artwork. "This one's you," Mia declared proudly, pointing at a sketch of a tall woman in a blue coat standing under an umbrella made of books. Raindrops fell around her, but none touched her. The umbrella caught them all. Evelyn blinked. "Why books?" "Because you know everything," Mia said, simply. "And even when it rains, you always look like you know what to do." Noah watched from a few steps away, his hands in his jacket pockets. His eyes didn't move from them. After a long moment, Evelyn asked softly, "Can I hug you?" Mia nodded. It wasn't a dramatic hug, no tears, no music, just arms wrapped around arms, cheek to shoulder. But to Evelyn, it felt like the first real embrace she'd had in years. A child who didn't need her to be impressive, just present. On the way home that evening, Noah drove in silence for a while. Then he said, "She's attached to you." I noticed Evelyn said. "She hasn't said it, but she looks at you the way she used to look at her mom. Like you're safe, like you're home." Evelyn didn't answer immediately. "Then I'm terrified." "Of what? Of not deserving her. Of not deserving this." Noah pulled over to the curb and parked. He turned to her. "Evelyn," he said, voice steady, "what if it's not about deserving love? What if it's about choosing to stay close to the people who remind you how to feel again?" Evelyn looked down at her lap. "Then I choose you," she whispered. "Both of you." That night, back at home, Mia placed a new drawing on her nightstand. It showed 3 stick figures. One tall with a brown beard, one smaller with curly hair and a backpack, and one in the middle with a calm smile and a heart on her shirt. Above them, in glittery ink, it read, "Family doesn't always knock. Sometimes it just walks in quietly and stays. Elevators aren't supposed to sigh right." Mia's voice cut through the hum of the descending lift. Noah glanced up from the floor numbers, which had just frozen between levels 11 and 12. The overhead lights flickered, and the metal box beneath their feet let out a groan like an old man settling into a chair he didn't trust. Beside them, Evelyn looked up from her phone. "That didn't sound like a scheduled maintenance groan," she said calmly. Then, with perfect cinematic timing, the elevator jerked once and came to a full stop. Everything went quiet. No buzz, no fan, just the faint echo of their breathing. Noah pressed the emergency button. Nothing happened. He pressed it again. Still nothing. Mia looked between them. Is this one of those movie moments where we all tell secrets? Evelyn let out a soft, unexpected laugh. Noah's brow furrowed. That laugh was suspiciously relaxed for someone trapped in a metal box. I've been through worse, Evelyn replied, tucking her phone away. Besides, I'm with the guy who can MacGyver a coffee machine out of printer parts. I think we'll survive, flattering Noah said. But my last great engineering feat was assembling IKEA furniture without crying. Mia giggled, and the sound lightened the air. Noah crouched beside the control panel and pried it open. He studied the wires, but the circuit board was fried. Probably a short from the morning storm. Seattle's weather was dramatic when bored. Well, Evelyn asked. Bad news, he said. I'm not certified for elevator miracles. Mia leaned against the mirror-lined wall. It's okay. I like it here. It's cozy. Of course you do, Noah muttered. You've never seen speed. Evelyn stepped back from the door, exhaled slowly, then reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a mini pack of jelly beans. She looked at them both. Emergency protocol rainbow sugar. Mia's eyes lit up. Where were you during my last budget meeting? Noah asked, accepting a blue one. Evelyn handed Mia a red one and took a green herself. The silence returned, but now it wasn't hollow. It was soft. Mia sat cross-legged on the floor, drawing patterns on the foggy glass with her finger. After a few minutes, she asked quietly, Do you think elevators are like people? How so? Evelyn asked. Sometimes they get stuck between where they were and where they're going, Mia said, and they just need time before they move again. Evelyn blinked, then turned to Noah. She's 6, right chronologically, he said. Emotionally, I think she's a retired poet. Evelyn looked at Mia again. If that's true, then I guess we're all elevators sometimes. Mia grinned, especially on Mondays. 15 minutes passed, then 20. No service, no rescue, just the 3 of them in a pause between floors and lives. Noah leaned his head against the wall. Eyes closed. Evelyn sat beside him. I used to hate silence, she said suddenly. I'd fill it with noise, podcasts, emails, anything. Noah opened his eyes. And now I think silence is honest. It doesn't pretend. He looked at her. Really looked. There was a fragility in her face, not weakness, but truth, like the glass was finally allowed to crack. I never told anyone this, she said, but after I lost the baby, I'd get into my car and scream. Noah didn't speak. He didn't flinch. I never cried in front of anyone, she continued. Not even my husband. And the day he left, I didn't ask him to stay. I just went back to work. Because it was safer, Noah said. Evelyn nodded. He leaned closer, his voice barely audible. You know, sometimes I think grief isn't just sadness. It's love with nowhere to go. Evelyn closed her eyes. Then, without warning, she whispered, I would have named him Simon. Noah smiled gently. That's a good name. I used to picture him chasing ducks, she said. Laughing, wearing rain boots 2 sizes too big. A single tear rolled down her cheek. Noah didn't wipe it away. He let it fall. Because some tears deserve the journey. A soft ding echoed. The elevator lurched gently, then resumed its descent. Floor 9. Floor 8. Floor 7. Mia stood up, brushing off her pants. See, she said. Told you elevators just need time. Evelyn laughed. This one was different. It filled the space. Rich. Warm. Alive. When the doors slid open at the lobby, no one rushed out. They stood for a moment, just stood as if leaving the box meant stepping back into a world that wasn't quite ready for what had changed inside. Finally, Mia took Evelyn's hand. Next time we get stuck, she said, Can we bring stickers? Evelyn squeezed her hand. Next time, we bring stickers and glitter." Noah chuckled. "You two are dangerous together." Mia looked up at him. "But we're healing, right?" He nodded. "Yeah, kiddo. We are." That evening, Evelyn sat in her apartment alone again, but it didn't feel the same. She pulled out a small journal she hadn't touched in months, and she wrote one line. "Today, I got stuck between floors and found pieces of myself I didn't know I was missing." She closed the book, and for the first time in 2 years left it open on the table instead of hiding it in a drawer. "Tell her I'm not mad," Mia said, tugging on Noah's sleeve as they stepped into the building lobby. "Why would she think you're mad?" he asked. "Because she didn't wave back yesterday when I smiled at her. Maybe her brain was too full." Noah chuckled. "I'll let her know you forgive her distraction." "Also—" Mia paused, slipping a folded piece of construction paper into his hand. "This is for her. You can read it first if you want." He knelt beside her. "You sure?" Mia nodded. Noah opened the note. It read in careful block letters written in rainbow marker. "You're allowed to smile more than once. Smiles aren't coupons. They don't run out." He looked up, throat tightening. "You're gonna break hearts someday, kid." "I'll try not to," she said with a shrug. "Unless they're mean on purpose." That afternoon, Evelyn was staring blankly at a quarterly roadmap slide in a strategy meeting when the envelope appeared on her desk. No note, no sender, just rainbow colors peeking through a fold. She opened it slowly and read the message once, then again. Her hand trembled slightly as she folded it shut. "Everything all right?" Evelyn Meredith Cole's voice was crisp, cutting through the silence like a scalpel. Meredith was VP of Ops and had been watching Evelyn's recent shift in demeanor with curiosity laced in suspicion. "Fine," Evelyn said without looking up. But Meredith didn't move on. She lingered, noticing. By late afternoon, the hum around the office had subtly changed. Whispers, pauses in hallway chatter, smiles that didn't quite reach the eyes. Evelyn knew those signs. She'd weaponized them herself once before life humbled her. At 5:17 p.m., she knocked on Noah's door. He looked up from his desk, eyes lighting up instantly. "Hey, got a minute always?" She stepped in and shut the door behind her. Then she held up the folded note. "You gave her this?" He shook his head. "She did, but she asked me to deliver it. She's dangerously good at timing." Noah smiled. "She says feelings have schedules and hers show up early." Evelyn sat down, exhaling slowly. "They're talking," she said flatly. Noah's brow furrowed. "Who people? About us? About this?" She gestured vaguely between them. The notes, the smiles, the elevator. He leaned back. "What are they saying? That I'm distracted? That I'm attaching to someone beneath my pay grade? That I'm not the same since I came back?" Noah's jaw tightened. "I can talk to someone," he offered. "Make it clear this isn't—" "No," she said. "Don't. It'll just confirm the narrative." She looked away. "It's not about the rumors," she added. "It's that I started caring again. And the moment you care, people start sharpening their knives." Noah was quiet for a moment. Then, "Do you regret it?" She turned to him slowly. "Regret what letting us in?" Evelyn studied his face. Honest, steady, not asking for anything, just offering to hold whatever answer she gave him. "I don't regret feeling again," she said softly. "I regret not having the armor ready for when I did." He nodded, understanding in the way only someone broken and rebuilt could. "I've been on that floor," he said, "where you start building a new version of yourself and someone tries to bulldoze it before the cement dries." She let out a shaky breath. "I'm not fragile," she whispered. "No," he said. "You're unfinished. And that's a hell of a lot braver." The next morning, Meredith Cole walked into the executive meeting room 10 minutes early and found Evelyn already seated flipping through a folder. "Didn't expect you here before coffee," Meredith remarked, settling into her chair. "I couldn't sleep," Evelyn replied calmly. "Thought I'd get a head start on reminding people I still know how to lead." Meredith offered a tight smile. People talk when things change. That's not personal. It is when they aim it at the child of someone they barely know. Meredith tilted her head. It's not about the child. It's about clarity. People follow certainty, not softness. Evelyn snapped the folder shut. There's a difference between softness and substance, she said. You used to know that. Meredith's expression didn't flicker, but her fingers curled ever so slightly around her pen. That evening, Evelyn stood at the edge of the company's garden terrace. It was misting lightly, the kind of rain Seattle was known for, too soft for umbrellas, too steady to ignore. Noah joined her hands tucked in his jacket pockets. She's worried about you, he said quietly. Who, Mia? She thinks your smiles are getting thinner. Evelyn exhaled, watching the fog swirl with her breath. I miss her, she admitted. She's right upstairs. I know, I just don't know how to deserve her yet. Noah turned to her. You keep using that word. Deserve. Like love's a trophy you earn by bleeding enough. Evelyn looked at him. And what is it then? It's a chair, he said. You pull it up, you sit, you stay. She stared at him. Then she whispered, You always make things sound simple. I don't. I just don't believe in making pain more complicated than it already is. She smiled, a tired smile, but a real one. Back in her apartment, Evelyn opened her drawer and added a new note to her growing collection. This one read, You're allowed to smile more than once. She placed it between a folded drawing and a printed email from HR. Let the world talk. She had a 6-year-old pen pal reminding her of joy, and a man who didn't flinch when she fell apart. That was enough to keep going. For now. The rooftop was strung with warm Edison bulbs casting soft golden halos over white tablecloths and glassware that caught the fading Seattle skyline like a memory. Laughter swirled with jazz, and for once the office crowd felt less like a company and more like people trying to remember how to celebrate something. Evelyn arrived late. Intentionally. She'd stood in her closet for 20 minutes debating whether to go at all. In the end, Mia's voice had echoed in her head. Just because people don't clap doesn't mean you didn't dance. So she came. Navy dress, hair down, minimal makeup, but with a quiet strength in her posture that said, I am showing up for myself. Noah saw her first across the terrace near the bar. He nearly dropped his drink. You look, he began. Like I almost didn't come, she finished smiling faintly. He laughed. You clean up like a slow burn. And you still flirt like a man who's not sure he's allowed to. Noah stepped closer. You're allowed to smile more than once, remember. She laughed. Soft. Real. I think I might test that theory tonight. They weren't the only ones watching. Near the dessert table, Meredith Cole sipped her wine with eyes that missed nothing. She was magnetic in the way dangerous people are polished, smile-controlled tone, and an uncanny ability to twist sincerity into liability. She moved toward the center of the gathering, then, with theatrical innocence, tapped her glass. The chatter dimmed. I just want to thank everyone, Meredith said, voice sugar-dusted. This has been a beautiful quarter. Strong performance, tighter alignment, and one of the best morale boosts we've seen in years. She looked directly at Evelyn. Some of us have even rediscovered our laughter. A polite chuckle rippled through the group. Evelyn's spine stiffened. Meredith continued. I think we all know this industry isn't built for the soft-hearted. But sometimes, just sometimes, the people who've been silent the longest return with the loudest lessons. More nods, more claps, then the dagger. Of course, Meredith added casually, it's always risky to attach too much emotion to any personal recovery, especially when there are children involved. Blurred boundaries, favoritism, workplace perception, it's a fine line. The air changed. Laughter died. Noah's fingers curled around his glass. Evelyn stood frozen, not from surprise, but from the precision of the blade. Meredith hadn't just implied scandal, she'd seeded doubt, publicly, under the guise of concern. "I'm sorry," Evelyn said aloud, calm but clipped. "Is there a point to this?" Meredith blinked, lips parted in mock confusion. "Only that we all want what's best for the team," she said smoothly. "And that includes ensuring emotional entanglements don't cloud leadership." Silence. Then Evelyn stepped forward. No quiver in her voice, but 1,000 storms in her eyes. "Leadership is not about keeping your heart out of it," she said. "It's about knowing how to lead, even when your heart is broken. Especially then." Gasps. Someone dropped a fork. Noah moved to her side gently, not as rescue, but as anchor. Evelyn held her ground. Then, without another word, she walked out. She didn't cry on the elevator. She didn't cry in the parking garage. She made it all the way to the front door of her apartment before the tears came. And when they didn't fall like a storm. They collapsed. Quiet. Heaving. Like her ribs had become gates too weak to hold grief anymore. She slid down the doorframe phone still in hand. 3 missed calls from Noah. 1 message from Mia. "Are you okay? I drew you a tiger. Tigers are brave." She choked out a sob laugh, clutching the screen to her chest. Then stared up at the ceiling and whispered, "Why did I let them get in?" But deep down, she knew the answer. Because letting joy in means leaving the door unlocked. And sometimes, the wind walks through it. Across the city, Noah paced in his living room. Mia sat curled on the couch, her sketchpad clutched to her chest. "Was it my fault?" she asked softly. Noah turned. "What, no? Never." She said people were mean to her. Because of us. He knelt beside her. "No one is ever mean because of love's sweetheart. They're mean because they don't remember how to feel it themselves." Mia bit her lip. I just wanted her to smile. And she did. Then it went away again. Noah pulled her close. "She smiled because of you. And when she finds it again, it'll be stronger. Because now she knows it wasn't pretend." At midnight, Evelyn sat at her kitchen table in silence. The laminated drawing Mia gave her, the one with the heart and umbrella, lay face down. She reached for her journal. Wrote only 1 line. "Maybe love is not what saves you. Maybe it's what stays beside you while you break." She tore the page out, folded it, and tucked it inside the envelope with Mia's last note. Then, finally, she let herself sleep, not because the ache had vanished, but because for the first time, she wasn't carrying it alone. It had been 3 days. 3 days since the rooftop party. 3 days since Evelyn walked out of a room full of people who applauded her comeback, and then tore it apart. 3 days since Noah last heard her voice. And in those 3 days, Seattle had offered its usual gray skies, but to Noah and Mia the world had gone quieter in a different way, like something fragile had gone missing from the soundtrack of their week. "Do you think she's mad at us?" Mia asked, chin resting on the kitchen table. Noah set a plate of cut strawberries in front of her. "No," he said. "I think she's protecting something that hurts." Mia poked a berry with her fork. "I can fix things with tape, but not hearts." Noah leaned against the counter, watching his daughter's tiny shoulders sag. "She's not gone, kiddo. She's just in the hallway between rooms." Mia blinked. Like when you don't know whether to go to the kitchen or your room, so you just stand there holding a spoon. He smiled. Exactly like that. Evelyn hadn't returned any texts. Not from Noah, not from HR, not even from her team. She'd filed a personal leave of absence the morning after the party, short, sterile, legal. Subject, leave request effective immediately, duration, indefinite. Reason, personal health recovery. No signatures, no fanfare, just silence. The kind of silence that made people whisper more, not less, and the kind of silence that scared Noah more than any shout ever could. But Evelyn wasn't gone. Not completely. She was sitting on the floor of her childhood bedroom in her parents' house in Edmonds, a place that smelled like lemon oil and old books. The nursery door across the hall had never been painted over. She hadn't been back in that room since the ultrasound went still. She still couldn't go in. But she sat outside of it, journal in her lap, envelope in her hand. Inside that envelope was a letter, one she hadn't planned to write, one she might never send. She unfolded the paper and began again for the 4th time that morning. Dear Simon, I never got to hear you cry. I never got to count your toes or kiss your nose or wrap you in the sweater Nana knit for you. But I see you in crayons, in jelly beans, in sticky notes, in the kindness of a little girl with galaxy eyes and a crooked ponytail. I met someone, Simon. 2 someones, actually. They reminded me what it feels like to be seen without being studied. They taught me that grief doesn't make me unlovable. They didn't save me, but they stayed, and maybe that's the same thing. Love, Mom. Her hand trembled as she set the pen down. No tears, just wait. But not the kind that drowns. The kind you carry forward. Back at the city, Noah stared at the unused cup of tea on Evelyn's desk, now cold, the faint imprint of lipstick still on the rim. The office buzzed with life, but it all sounded dull, like background noise when the main actor has left the scene. He took out his phone, typed, erased, typed again. Noah, just letting you know Mia misses you. So do I. No pressure, just presence. He hit send, then sat back hoping it didn't sound like a plea. Later that night, Mia tiptoed into his room holding a shoebox. What's that? Noah asked. My Evelyn box, she whispered. Inside were drawings, notes, a crumpled candy wrapper, a sticker that read, Be kind anyway. Noah swallowed. Do you want to mail something to her? No, Mia said. I want to keep it full, so when she comes back I can give it all at once. Noah leaned over and kissed her forehead. You're braver than most adults I know. Mia looked up. Do brave people get scared? All the time, he said. But they don't run. No, he whispered. They wait at the door with a light on. Evelyn stood at the edge of Puget Sound the next morning, the letter to Simon folded in her coat pocket. The wind danced in her hair. She didn't cry, but she did something she hadn't done in a long, long time. She closed her eyes and whispered, I forgive you. She wasn't sure if she meant the world or herself. Maybe both. That evening, as twilight blanketed the sky, she sat at her desk, not the one at work, but the old white one with stickers from her teenage years, and opened a blank document. She began typing. Not code, not corporate strategy, but a proposal. Subject, project concept, emotive AI design, pilot, child-centered communication, interfaces, inspiration, source observation of neurodiverse behavior patterns in natural environments, personal context, a child's way of restoring color to grayscale days. Proposed lead consultant Noah Reeves, former MD pediatric specialist. She paused, then added one last line. Sometimes healing doesn't start with medicine. It starts with listening. She hit save. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was faking her place in the world. She was reclaiming it. Back in the city, Noah's phone buzzed at 9:17 p.m. Evelyn, tell Mia, I got her tiger. He's sitting on my desk. He looks very brave. Also, is she still collecting stickers? I found a sheet that smells like strawberries. P.S. Thank you for keeping the light on. Noah stared at the message for a long moment, then smiled. The kind of smile that didn't ask for anything. Because some people don't come back the same. They come back ready. The lobby fell into an odd stillness when the elevator doors opened. Evelyn stepped out not with dramatic flair, not in heels and armor, but in sneakers and a soft beige coat hair in a loose braid. The kind of look that said she wasn't here to prove she was strong, just that she was still standing. She moved through the hallway like a breeze familiar but unexpected, carrying no bag, only a thin envelope clutched in her hand. No one stopped her, but everyone noticed. She arrived at the admin desk on 17 just after lunch. Noah looked up mid-sentence with a temp assistant and froze. Their eyes met. It wasn't surprise, it was recognition. A quiet, I was hoping you'd come back, but I wasn't going to ask you to. Hey, she said softly. Noah dismissed the assistant with a glance and stood. "You okay?" he asked. Evelyn nodded. "I think so. Or, I'm getting there." She reached into her coat pocket and handed him the envelope. Inside was a folded drawing Mia's tiger, and a sticky note that read, "He looks brave." So I borrowed some of his stripes. Noah chuckled. "She'll love that." Evelyn looked down. "Is she around?" "She's been waiting by the elevator every lunch break for a week." Evelyn's eyes shimmered. "May I?" He nodded and motioned down the hall. Mia was in the break room, coloring on a napkin, her feet dangling off the chair, her juice untouched. When Evelyn entered, the little girl looked up, stunned. Then she whispered, "You came back." Evelyn knelt. "I missed you," she said. "I missed you more," Mia replied, wrapping her arms tightly around Evelyn's neck. The hug was fierce. Fiercer than anything Evelyn had expected from arms that small. "I saved all your notes," Mia mumbled into her shoulder. "I saved your tiger," Evelyn whispered back. "He sat on my desk the whole time." Mia leaned back just enough to see her face. "Are you still sad?" Evelyn paused, then answered honestly, "Sometimes. But I'm also a little less scared of the sadness now." Mia smiled. "That's what brave looks like." Later that day, Evelyn sent a short internal memo. "Just a few lines to my team, thank you for the grace of space. I'm back, with a heart full of intent. Let's do work that matters." EC replies poured in. Short, warm, welcome back. But Evelyn didn't read them all. She had somewhere else to go. They drove in silence. Noah behind the wheel. Evelyn beside him. Mia in the back, humming to herself, clutching a wildflower bouquet she'd picked from the community garden. The road wound toward the quiet edges of the city, toward a place Noah had never been invited to before. Evelyn's voice broke the silence. "I haven't brought anyone here." "You don't have to," Noah said gently. "I know, but I want to." She turned in her seat. "Mia, would you come with me?" Mia nodded solemnly. "Do I get to meet him?" Evelyn smiled. In a way, the cemetery was quiet. Not cold, just still the kind of stillness that asks you to lower your voice and raise your heart. Evelyn led them to a small granite marker under a Japanese maple tree. There was no photograph, no engraved poem. Just Simon Clark, March 28, 2021. March 28, 2021, born of love, carried always. Evelyn knelt and traced the name with her fingers. Then she whispered, "This is Simon." Mia crouched beside her and laid down the flowers. "Hi, Simon," she said gently. "I'm Mia. I brought you color." Noah stood a few steps away, hands in his coat pockets, eyes damp. Evelyn looked up at him. "I used to think coming here meant reliving the loss. And now he asked. Now I think it means introducing him to the people who helped me keep breathing." They stood in silence. Birdsong in the trees. Wind in the leaves. Then Evelyn reached into her coat and pulled out a second drawing. Not Mia's. Hers. A sketch of 3 figures. One tall, one small, and one in the middle with her arms open wide. She placed it by the headstone. "Just so he knows," she whispered, "I'm not alone anymore." Back at home that evening, Noah tucked Mia into bed. She looked up at him and whispered, "Can I call her something like what he asked?" Like, "Mom," Noah hesitated. "I think you should ask her." Mia nodded, solemn. "I will, when the moment feels soft." Noah smiled, brushing a curl from her forehead. "That's a good instinct." Evelyn returned to her apartment that night and did something she hadn't done in years. She left the door slightly ajar, just enough for someone to knock, just enough for light to get in. The conference room was too bright. Evelyn stood alone at the far end, hands folded, heart steady, but breath shallow, the kind of breath you take before a free dive. The glass table reflected her blazer, but not the scars beneath it. Executives murmured as they trickled in. HR, product leads, legal, a board member or 2. They expected updates. They expected strategy. They didn't expect her. Not this version of her. She didn't clear her throat or tap the mic. She simply spoke. When a child stops speaking, it isn't always because they can't. She began, voice calm. Sometimes it's because they don't know if the world is safe enough to listen. Silence. Evelyn clicked the remote. The first slide appeared a simple drawing. Crayon lines, a stick figure girl, a rainbow, a sticker that read, "Feelings Matter." Some of the board members glanced around, unsure if this was a glitch or a setup. Evelyn continued. For the past 2 years, we focused on adaptive interfaces, machine learning pipelines, and predictive behavioral analytics. She turned toward the room. But what if we're asking the wrong question? What if the real innovation isn't teaching machines to answer, but teaching them to pause, to recognize human emotion before it becomes crisis? She clicked again. A wireframe interface mock-up appeared, simple shapes, color-coded icons, haptic input bubbles. Below it, the words, Project Seedling Emotive AI for Pediatric Communication. Inspired by one child's ability to reach someone most of us couldn't, Evelyn said. Designed to assist children with neurodivergent patterns, trauma responses, or emotional regulation challenges through intuitive color sound and motion triggers. A hand went up from the CFO. What's the practical application? Evelyn didn't flinch. Imagine a school tablet that adjusts tone when it senses rising cortisol levels in a child. Imagine an ER intake system that communicates through play instead of forms. Imagine a platform that listens even when words aren't used. The room shifted, eyes narrowed, minds turning. And who's your technical lead? Someone asked from legal. We'll need HIPAA advisors, pediatric compliance. Evelyn stepped forward. Noah Reeves, she said clearly. Former MD pediatric specialist. He's consulted on the framework. I'm asking that we bring him in officially. A murmur. One exec frowned. The same Noah who works admin support? Yes, she said. That Noah. The one who understood a child's silence wasn't absence, it was language. Someone from HR leaned in. And your connection to him, are you declaring any personal involvement? Evelyn didn't blink. I'm declaring this. If emotional clarity is now a liability, we've built the wrong kind of company. Dead silence. Then a slow clap. It started with the design director, then engineering, then others. Not polite, not performative, but real. Because for the first time in a long time, someone stood in that room and didn't sell a vision, she revealed it. After the meeting, Evelyn found Noah waiting in the hallway holding a coffee with her name scrawled in childlike handwriting, Miss Ev. I saw a few execs looking dazed, he said. You give them a new religion. She took the cup, smiling. I gave them a mirror. And me. What did you just give me? She looked at him suddenly shy. I gave you a job offer. Noah blinked. Wait. Seriously, consulting position. Official. Temporary. For now. Evelyn stepped closer. You know more about emotional mapping in children than anyone I've ever worked with. You understand silence. You live in nuance. And if we're going to build a product that feels before it responds, we need you. He stared at her. I thought this was your journey. She shook her head. No, it was never mine alone. I just had to stop bleeding long enough to see who was holding the bandages. He laughed under his breath. That might be the most romantic job offer I've ever received. Wait until you see the benefits, she murmured. He reached out gently, brushing his thumb along the back of her hand. Tell me something, he said. Why now? Evelyn didn't look away. Because I don't want to just heal anymore, she whispered. I want to build from it. That night in the break room, Mia placed a sticker on Evelyn's mug. It was a gold star. Under it, she'd written, For brave pitches and good hearts. Evelyn held the mug close. Do you think we're allowed to be happy? Mia. The girl tilted her head. You mean now? Evelyn nodded. Mia grinned. If not now, then when Noah chuckled from the doorway. Evelyn raised her mug in a quiet toast. To now, she said, and they all clinked imaginary glasses in the soft, humming light of something that finally felt like beginning. It was the first birthday party Evelyn had attended in years. Not a corporate dinner, not a charity gala with polite handshakes and brittle laughter. A real birthday. With streamers taped unevenly across the windows balloons in too many shades of pink and a sixth candle that Mia insisted on adding because I liked 6 better than 7. Evelyn stood in the corner for a moment, just watching. Mia danced barefoot in the living room, crown slightly crooked cheeks stained with cupcake frosting. Noah sat cross-legged on the floor cutting shapes out of construction paper like it was the most important task in the universe. There was no music, just giggles, and the sound of life moving forward. Evelyn wasn't sure when she'd last felt this still and this full at the same time. "Are you going to stand there forever?" Mia called out. Evelyn smirked. "Maybe. Depends on whether this party has snacks." Mia marched over with mock sternness, grabbed her hand and led her straight to the gift table. "This one's from me," Mia said, pointing to a small wrapped box with stars drawn in marker. Evelyn crouched unwrapping carefully. Inside was a simple bracelet, plastic beads rainbow-colored with 4 white cubes spelling out a word, M-O-M. Her breath caught. It wasn't a declaration. It was a question. Mia looked up with wide, steady eyes. "You don't have to say yes," she whispered, "but I've been waiting for the right time to ask." The room disappeared. All the air, all the walls, everything quieted into that single, fragile heartbeat. Evelyn swallowed hard. Then with tears sliding freely down her cheeks, she slipped the bracelet onto her wrist. "It's the most beautiful name anyone's ever offered me," she said. Mia beamed. "So, I can." Evelyn pulled her close. "You already have." Later that night, after the last cupcake had been eaten and the last balloon had deflated, Evelyn and Noah stood by the window city lights twinkling below. "She asked me first, you know," Noah said softly. "Weeks ago. I told her to wait for the moment to feel soft." Evelyn nodded. It did. She looked down at the bracelet on her wrist. "I didn't know my heart could make space like this." Noah took her hand gently. "It's not about space," he said. "It's about permission. You finally gave yourself some." Evelyn leaned into him, resting her head against his shoulder. "I used to think love was a rescue," she whispered. "Now I know it's just someone walking beside you quietly, until you're ready to stand again." He kissed the top of her head. "You stood today," he said, "and I didn't fall." "No," he smiled. "You flew." In Mia's bedroom, the nightlight glowed soft yellow. She lay curled on her side, clutching the tiger drawing Evelyn had once returned. Evelyn sat beside her. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. Mia nodded, already half asleep. "I never thought I'd be anybody's mom." "You don't have to be perfect," Mia murmured. Evelyn blinked. "Who told you that?" "You did, when you let me draw outside the lines." Evelyn laughed through her tears. Mia continued, voice fading. "You don't have to sing lullabies either. Just be here when I wake up." Evelyn kissed her forehead. "Always." As she turned off the light, Mia mumbled one last thought into the dark. Love doesn't have to be loud. Just close. Before bed, Evelyn opened her journal, the one she used to fill with pain. Tonight, she wrote something different. "Today, I became a mom. Not because I gave birth, but because I said yes to being chosen, and that may be the bravest love of all." She closed the book and left it on the windowsill, not hidden, not locked away. Let the world see. Let the light in. 6 months later. The hospital rooftop had changed. Where once there were just gray benches and weathered vents, now there stood a row of wooden planters, herbs, lavender tomatoes, and even a small bonsai, its leaves trimmed with care. On the wall near the elevator, a new plaque read, The Listening Garden, dedicated to those who chose empathy when silence was easier. Evelyn read it quietly as she stepped into the sun, a tray of tea in hand. Her hair was longer now, softer. She wore no makeup today, just a white linen blouse and jeans. She looked real, present. Noah turned from where he knelt beside the bonsai, brushing soil from his hands. "That's new." Evelyn smiled, setting the tray on a table. "The board approved it last week." "I didn't ask." "You didn't need to," he said. "They've seen what healing looks like." She poured 2 cups of jasmine tea. "Funny," she said. "I used to think healing was about fixing. But maybe it's more like tending, letting something live again." Noah watched her for a beat. "You've changed." "So have you." He laughed. "I cry during cereal commercials now." They sipped their tea in silence, the wind rustling gently through the rosemary behind them. Below, the city buzzed on horn sirens' ambition. But up here, time moved differently. "Do you miss it?" Evelyn asked suddenly. "Miss what?" "The armor. The version of you that never asked for help." He considered that. Some days. But then Mia runs into the kitchen in dragon pajamas and says, "I saved you a marshmallow, and I remember what matters." Evelyn smiled. She's growing so fast. She told me last week she wants to be a heart doctor for sad people. I think she meant therapist, but either way. "She already is," Evelyn said softly. That evening, they stood together in the hallway outside Mia's room. She'd fallen asleep, clutching her sketchbook page open to a drawing of a giant tiger curled protectively around 3 smaller ones. "I think that's us," Noah whispered. Evelyn brushed Mia's hair gently. "She sees more clearly than most adults I know." Noah turned to her. "What about you?" he asked. "Do you see more clearly now?" Evelyn didn't answer right away. She walked to the window instead, pulling back the curtain just slightly. The sky was painted in soft golds and lavenders, that rare moment between sunset and dusk when the world held its breath. "I used to measure success in deliverables," she said, "in hours billed and crises managed. But lately, I measure in moments." She looked over her shoulder. "When I ask for help and no one thinks I'm weak. When I laugh and it doesn't echo. When I say, 'I'm scared,' and the room doesn't go quiet." Noah walked to her slowly. "And when someone says they love you, and you finally believe they're not lying." Evelyn met his eyes. This time, she didn't look away. "Are you saying it again?" "No," he said. "I never stopped." He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small folded paper. She opened it. It was one of Mia's drawings, a stick-figure family, 3 figures holding hands. But above them, written in crooked capital letters, were the words, "Our Family. Forever-ish." Evelyn laughed, choking on the warmth rising in her chest. "Forever-ish," she repeated. "It leaves room for second breakfasts and dragon pajamas," Noah said. She looked at the drawing again. "I never believed I could have this," she whispered. "Not after what I lost." "You didn't have to believe," he said. "You just had to stay long enough to be surprised." That weekend, they hosted another gathering, not a birthday this time, but something smaller. Just a Sunday brunch. Miss Ortiz brought tamales. Marco brought his famous lemon bars and a Bluetooth speaker. Rena arrived late, holding a plant labeled low maintenance like me. Darius and Meredith even came, and when Evelyn handed Meredith a tea without a word, something quiet passed between them. Not forgiveness, but maybe truce. Evelyn didn't make a speech. She didn't have to. She just stood in the middle of it, all the laughter, the stories, the light pouring through the windows, and exhaled. That night, after everyone had gone, Evelyn stood at the rooftop again. Alone. She traced the edge of the bonsai, remembering the night Noah found her there, broken brittle. Now the tree had taken root. So had she. She opened her journal, the same one she once used to chart grief. Now she wrote one final page. Healing is not a destination. It's a garden. You tend it. You water it. You show up for it, especially on the days you'd rather run. She signed it E.S., not the CEO, just Evelyn. Then, for the first time, she left the journal on the bench open, in the wind, where others might read it, where the story might continue. And maybe that's the lesson we all needed today. Sometimes healing doesn't come with fireworks. Sometimes it's a quiet rooftop, a child's drawing, a hand held when you thought no one would stay. If you've ever gone through something that left you feeling alone, unseen, unheard, we want to hear your story. Drop a comment below. Where are you watching from tonight? Has someone ever changed your life? Just by listening. This channel was built for moments like that, for stories that make us pause, feel, heal. So if this story touched you even just a little, please consider subscribing for more stories like this one. Stories of quiet strength, second chances, and the magic that still exists in this world. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for listening with your heart. We'll see you in the next story. Until then, take care of each other.